What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Sport Exposure Podcast. As you know, we're here to expose sport stories, sport journey, the things that we've gone through to get to where we are today, and really creating a safe space for student athletes to tell their journey. Today, we have Quincy Avery here to tell his story, which I'm really excited about. How you feeling?
I am amazing. How you doing?
I can't complain. I'm excited to get into your story. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
I am Quincy Avery. I am the owner of Quarterback Takeover. We make the best quarterbacks in the world better. So I work with more NFL quarterbacks than anybody in the country right now. Train a lot of college quarterbacks, high school quarterbacks, but really built a business after leaving UCLA. And it was just interesting to go from working with a college or university and then start my own business.
For sure. We're going to get into that real quick. So before we start, here at Sport Exposure, we're all about celebrating triumphs and learning from defeats. When you hear that motto and you think about your sport journey, what comes to mind?
A lot. I lived out of a locker room for over a year and a half, and I lived out of my car for 2 years. So essentially 3.5 years of my life, I lived without a residence or a place to stay.
Wow.
And now there's no one in the world who does what I do better than I do it.
That's a hell of a triumph there.
Yeah, so.
So we'll recircle to that. Where did football start for you? Where did everything start?
So I've always played football. Like, that was the thing that I grew up doing. My father was a coach, went on to be a head coach in college at HBCU, coached the NFL. So everything that I did was like, looking for your father's approval. He was a coach. He was really into football. He played college football at the University of Minnesota. So that was really the one thing that I was super passionate about, was sports and football more specifically.
For sure. And how did you know you wanted to take it to the next level?
You know, like when you're passionate about something, like it's the only thing that you think about. Like, you might do other things, you play other sports, but you know you like eat, sleep, and breathe something. I would never be at home and be on a piece of paper and draw up a basketball play, but I would be writing down football plays, trying to come up with concepts, trying to understand the game better. I would watch football nonstop. Like, it was the only thing that I cared about, the only thing I was passionate about. So I always knew that I was going to be in football. I always knew that I would love football. And in fact, I remember in college, like my senior year, or my last year, 5th year, wasn't the best student, but one of my coaches was like, "Man, what are you going to do?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "The only thing you care about, the only thing you talk about is football. Like, what is your plan?" I was like, damn, this is the only thing that I really, really care about and really passionate about. So it's been interesting, but that's kind of how I knew I love football.
Let's talk about your life as a student athlete. How was that?
It felt like, now, even though I was at Morehouse College, right? And even though you
was
don't.
down there having a ball.
Oh my God. Spelman right there, Clark right there, Georgia State right there. It was good times. But I was more of an athlete than student. I just didn't really care about school.
That's a lot of us do.
Yeah, I think that I always understood how to get by, except for my freshman year. I was going to be ineligible without summer school, manage my way to get through those 6 hours in the summer, but I was always just figuring out, how do I play football and just get by with other stuff? But a lot of time that's really, really knocked, right? People knock those people who don't really put in that much effort in school but figure out how to get by. But those same skills allowed me to figure out a lot of other things. Like, I think I developed elite figure-it-outness, right? There's no situation that I'm like, damn, I'm fucked. Like, I'm going to figure it out because I've always done that. I always figured out how to get eligible. I always figured out all those little things, and I might not have done the work on the front end, but I was not going to be denied from the thing that I wanted. And that's something I've taken with me for a long time.
The life of being a student athlete comes with a lot of balance, and I can only imagine being in the heart of Atlanta.
I was throwing parties. I was like real parties, like at the club. Like, I was one of the big party promoters in college. I was playing football, and I was faking school.
Living the life.
College was good.
College comes with some challenges too, though. Being a student athlete, talk about some of those.
Especially, so the difficulties for us, right, where I was at, is lack of funding, lack of scholarship. Like the things that you expect to have when you go play sports at a college, they just weren't there, right? Locker room was horrible, trainer was iffy, right? You're not getting the treatment that you need in order to play at the highest level. You're not getting the nutrition you need. So all of the little things that you're supposed to be getting from the school in order for you to be the best version of yourself, and the thing that we all set out to do, we were absent of that, right? We were absent a lot of the tools that we needed to do the things that we wanted to do at the highest level. So that was really, really frustrating. It was also the funnest time of my life. Like I would not trade all of those difficulties, all the times where you go to the financial aid office, like, no, I'm on a scholarship. They're like, oh, well, they didn't send us the form yet, right? They didn't give us the things that we needed yet in order for us to get the scholarship done. So, like, I wouldn't have traded that for nothing.
The HBCU run around and I don't like it.
Oh my God, they're gonna hit you with all the pump fakes.
But I feel like that prepared me for life. Like, going to a HBCU comes with a lot.
It's gonna be some bullshit
at all times. And like you said, though, the ability to figure it out through any situation, whether it's finances, whether it's food, living conditions, locker room situations,
sneaking in the cab.
You feel me? Like, whatever you got to do, we found a way, and it was no excuses. Like, it just is what it is. And a lot of people, I feel like sometimes they knock it, but I mean, it's the part of the HBCU experience. Like, I can relate to all of that, but I can also say I had the time of my life for 4 years. Like, I can't imagine going to any other school. And I tell kids all the time, like, if you have an opportunity to go to a HBCU, go now. Because you're never going to be in an environment surrounded by your own people like that. Like,
a bunch of young Black people who all are somewhat like-minded. They're all hoping or aspiring to do something bigger than the place that they came from. And all of my best friends have come from college, but not only that, so many of the people that I work with in terms of like really building and really trying to like generate wealth are all people that I went to college with.
That's dope. Yeah. And like you said, like, it sets you up. Like, and it gives you a different perspective of things because I work better with my own people. And I'm okay with that. I don't mind admitting that. Like,
exactly.
I don't want to work with white people. Like, I can get along with no hate, but it's just like, why not work with your own people to get to, we all got a common goal. Yeah. And we all fighting the same struggles. And working in sport, that was, because even me working for HBCU conferences, it was different when I went over to PWIs because, like, y'all don't understand.
They haven't seen the same things, gone through the same struggles. So yeah, it's definitely different. Just the relatability that you can't have with somebody who hasn't had the same issues as you.
Right. And having that same mindset, and you can relate, and we'll get into that next about trying to navigate through a system that was never set up for us. When you're trying to figure out what you want to do, okay, I want to work in sports. I want to work in football. All right, that's one realization. But then as you climb the ladder, you start realizing other things. What was that process like for you?
I'm going to just talk about how I got my first job.
Okay.
Right, my only job that I've really ever had, I was a coach at UCLA. So I'm sure you're familiar with, usually you're going to send in a resume. They can call you in for an interview. Typical things. However, my coach was like, yo, you need to figure out something to do in football. So I'm looking like, all right, who's a new head coach? All right, they probably don't have their whole staff. So it was UCLA. So as soon as I graduated, I packed up all this stuff in my car and I just drove to UCLA. I didn't get told I had an interview or none of that. So when the coach came, I'm sitting on the couch in the football office. He's like, yo, what are you doing here? I'm like, I want a job. He walks back to his office like, this nigga's tripping. I mean, he didn't say that, but I know that's what he's thinking. Yeah. So he goes out, comes back out at the end of the day, probably 8 o'clock. So from 7 a.m. to 8 o'clock, I sat in the office. He comes back out. He's like, why are you still here? I'm like, I really want a job. He's like, that's not how major college football works. He leaves, comes back the next morning, I'm there. Same conversation, goes back. When he leaves that night, I'm still there. He's like, all right, if you're here tomorrow, we can have a conversation. Comes back in the next morning, I'm there. I wait like an hour or two. I go back to his office. I talk to him. He's like, well, it's clear and obvious that you're not going to leave until you get an opportunity to work here. It's like, I don't have any money, so you can volunteer. But in volunteering, I still need you to work full-time hours. And full-time hours for them is not 40 hours a week. In college football, 115, 120. Like, that sounds like, I don't know how you can work 120 hours,
I've
but
seen it.
every day I was there at 4:30 in the morning. And oftentimes I wouldn't leave before midnight. So literally, you were living at the office. So I didn't get an apartment. I didn't have any money to get an apartment. I would work all day, go to sleep in the locker room, rinse and repeat. I didn't start getting paid until after 6 months, but I didn't get paid enough for it to matter. So I kept living in that locker room for the next year and a half, and I just grinded it out. But that's how I came upon, like, just kicking down that first barrier to entry. Wow.
That when you're determined to do something, there's nobody that can stand in the way of that.
What I tell guys that I work with, and something that I live by, something that I like really feel in my heart, is like, don't tell me your goals if you're not putting in the work to make allow you to meet your goals. Like, doesn't work. Like, that means your words and your actions are not congruent, right? If your words and your actions are not congruent, I don't want to talk to you. You're not the type of person that I want to deal with. So,
if you want something bad enough, you do everything in your power.
You're going to figure something out. You're going to figure out how to get it.
During that year and a half living in the locker room, what was that like for you mentally? I know that could be challenging.
Probably it could be challenging, but I feel like, to me, I'm probably one of the mentally toughest people I know. Right? So you could be frustrated a little bit, but I know that on the other side of this is what I want. Right? So I don't get bogged down by thinking about just right now. I'm really big on delayed gratification. Like, the thing that I see is down the road, so I'm going to just put my head down, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, and sooner or later I'm going to look up, I'm going to be there. So that's how I got that job, right? And built that. But then, in order to leave that job, really, really interesting, I care a lot about how we setting up people for success. So when we end of the season, I go to the assistant athletic director who was working in football. I'm like, look, most of these guys on our team are not going to be able to they're not going to go pro in football. How do we help set them up for a life after football? I think that the bare minimum we should do is get them all suits. We can say that these are their travel outfits, allow them all to get a suit. I think it would be really helpful when they get done here. At least they have a really nice suit. They're here for 3 or 4 years. They're going to have 3 or 4 suits. They're going to put them in a situation where, and he's like, no, I don't really think that's our job. And at that point, I'm like, this ain't for me. We got all these young black dudes who are trying to help this big university make a bunch of money, win a bunch of games, but we not putting them in a position to win at life. Right? And it was something as simple as that. It doesn't cost us any more money. We're going to spend that same money on a suit as we are going to be on travel suits.
Exactly.
So why couldn't we do something to help them? Why couldn't we think about them in that way? And at that point, I was like, this is it in the private sector for me.
So that was the only job that you had?
It's the only job I've ever had.
And I'm sure that you had to been, how was your connection with the athletes while you were there?
Oh, super good. I still talk to most of them to this day. Right? Shoot them a text. We connected on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I'm
sure you were very inspiring for them.
I don't think that's inspiring to somebody if they know what you're going through, right? They know that you did all that to get in that position.
Yeah.
They didn't know that. I'm not someone who's going to talk about, damn, I can't, woe is me. I'm never that, no matter what I'm going through, my disposition is not going to change. I'm going to be smiling. I'm going to be excited to be there, and I'm going to go to work.
Absolutely. For sure. So leaving UCLA, once you had that realization, this is not for you, what was that process like?
It was really quick, right? As soon as the season got over, my job at UCLA, one of the things that I did was every kid who sent over a highlight tape, I would watch their tape, right? In the whole country. It's hundreds of tapes a day I'd watch. So I was like, damn, there's a lot of really talented quarterbacks in Atlanta, and their form is trash. Right? I could go there and start a quarterback training company. Be really good. I'd get all the quarterbacks. Like, this is gonna be easy. So I packed all my stuff. I went to Atlanta. I was basically from Atlanta. I went to college here, grew up there, had friends there. I was gonna be able to figure it out because it's only gonna take me a couple months to get some quarterbacks.
Right.
That's what I thought. I quickly realized that no one wanted to train with me. So every morning, what I would do is I would go to sleep in my car or a friend's house, something like that, right? I would wake up, I would go to the gym, then I would go to Starbucks. I would Facebook message, right? So I'm looking at every middle school, high school, park roster. If your number was 1 through 19, I'll find your name and I'm either going to Facebook message, because this is back in the day now. This isn't, Twitter's not popping. I'm going to find you or your parents on Facebook and message you to try and train. I did that for a year and a half and never got one client. So I never got one client for a year and a half. Then I finally was like, damn, I got to try something new. Let me try and figure out a new plan. And then I got the top 11 quarterbacks. Like I found the top 11 older quarterbacks in the state, sent them a message like, hey, we are going to do a quarterback for the top kids in the state. I think it's really important that you make it. Nobody came. But the first kid who hit me back was Josh Dobbs. Like, hey, I can't make it, but can you train me? I need a trainer. And then started working with Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs blows up, goes to the University of Tennessee. Then Deshaun Watt, and then it just started, it was a snowfall. And then people like, damn, this shit happened so quick for you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went for nobody to Deshaun Watson, Josh Dobbs, this and the third. I'm like, so quick. You didn't get up with me every morning, right? And message kids trying to get them to train. Like, you didn't do that. And that's what I had to do over and over and over again in order to get to the point where it was like, damn, this shit happened so fast. And I started training quarterbacks in 2011, started messaging them in 2011, really started training in 2013. And by 2016, 2017, I felt like my life had changed. Like I was in a really good position. 2018, I'm the only trainer in the world with a Nike, no, only football trainer, quarterback trainer with a Nike deal. Like shit just started moving. But it was only because it stayed down, right? At all these different checkpoints when other people might have folded, I'd be like, damn, this might not work. I kept working. And I think that it's really easy to work really hard when you know exactly what you want and exactly where it's at. Damn, if I just do this, I'm going to get there, right? If I just...
Don't know when.
Right? but they know where they're trying to go. This is really difficult to work as hard as you possibly can every day with no promise of success in the future. Like, that's hard.
It is.
And I don't think a lot of people have that characteristic, but that's sports. Right? You gotta work as hard as you can every single day. You're not promised that you're gonna go out there and get a scholarship. You're not promised you're gonna be a starter, but you have to work as hard as you can for the possibility of getting the things that you hope and desire.
And during this process where you grinding, you staying down, what type of people did you have motivating you? I'm sure you had to have somebody that was trying to talk you out of it, when I first said I was leaving UCLA, one of my aunts was like, man, your mom's been trying to do so much to help you. I'm like, yeah, but that's not what I want to do. That's not my passion. But other than that, not a lot of people knew what I was doing to get to where I was at. So it wasn't a whole lot of, oh, you shouldn't do that. I wasn't asking nobody for any help. I was doing it. I was thugging it. Like I was making shit happen. I was making shit shake. So, I mean, I had saved up a couple $1,000s. All I needed was enough money to eat Taco Bell and go work out. Like I'm willing to sacrifice some tough times for things that I want down the line. Because it's always worth it.
Should be worth it. Sometimes you just fucking fail. But that's the other part that
you're right.
You could just fail. You could work.
But that's the part of the process sometimes too.
You can work hard as fuck and fail. You gotta be okay with that. Because in that failure, you're still gonna learn something about yourself. You're still gonna earn some skills that are gonna allow you to be successful down the line. Like, you just might not get the thing that you wanted, but if you worked as hard as you can be proud of that. Hang your hat on at least I work hard.
I gave it my all.
That shit is a undefeated characteristic. You might fail at this thing, but you're gonna win in life if you learn, let me just work as hard as I can at whatever I'm doing.
Because everything's a learning lesson.
Should be.
And I feel like the toughest moments, and I've been through a lot of tough moments that nobody else knew about, but that's when I learned the most about myself and what I wanted. Because I had to make sacrifices. I didn't mind making sacrifices because I didn't know where I was going to end up, but I knew where I was going to end up a step closer. Even if I missed, it's still a step closer from where I was, right? And being a student athlete, a lot of that comes with being a student athlete, as you said. Like, I can work as hard as I want, as hard as I need to, and my coach still may not play me. I could be the best thing that happened to him. If that coach has whatever feeling in his mind, he don't want to play me, and that's life, though. That's life. Being a student athlete prepares you for so much. Like, you can be the best point guard, post player, you know it on your team. I don't guarantee that man gonna play you.
You want to know a lesson you don't want to learn?
What?
I need to work harder. Like, if that's a lesson you're learning at the end of like going through some shit, damn, I need to work harder, then you fucked up.
That's hard to sit with.
Exactly. You don't, at the end of whatever you're going through, you don't want that to be the lesson you learn.
That's real hard to sit with. Like, when it's all said and done, you can't do nothing else. You do not want to say, I should have did this or I could have did that. Because you're selling yourself short.
Maybe like, I could have figured something out better. Cool. Like, next time I'll do that. But I could have just worked harder and I might have got there. That shit, that'll eat you alive. But I'm never going to have that feeling.
That's respect.
That's just what I hang my head on. Like, I'm not going to be like, damn, I could have worked harder. Nah.
Because you give it your all. So let's talk about navigating the industry now. One, as a Black quarterback coach, it's a lot of stigmas. It's a lot of things that come with it. A lot of naysayers, what have you. Mm-hmm. And you really start to see, I know for me, it was a huge eye-opener too. Like, y'all just really don't want us in the room.
Don't want us in the room. They don't. So I work with multi-billion dollars, most prized assets. Like, when you really dig down into it, these NFL teams are worth $2, $3, $4 billion, not million, $1 billion. Their most prized asset is their quarterback on each of these teams. So the amount of times I've had to deal with a white coach being like, oh, I don't know if you should train with him. I want you to train with this guy. Not having met me, not having understood anything that I talk about in terms of fundamentals, techniques, not understanding what I do for these young men's confidence. Like, those situations are really, really frustrating. And they're saying it for no other reason than I'm a young Black dude. Or kind of young. I'm getting older now, but I'm a young Black dude and they don't trust that a guy who looks like me knows what he's talking about. And that happens over and over again. And it's not until like I'm able to get in a room and they try to talk in a way where they want to give you that imposter syndrome. Like, damn, maybe I'm not supposed to be there. Unknowingly that I've done the work at every single step to be exactly where I am.
Probably more than them.
Exactly. I do all my research. I'm studying NFL film like they're doing. I've seen more people throw a football than probably anybody in the world. Like, that's all I watch. I'm not at practice worrying about. I watch people throw the football, and there's nobody who studies it more than I do. So for these guys to try and make me feel like I didn't know what I was talking about, and then prevent me from working with guys in order for them and their ego to feel better because they don't want their guy working with a young Black dude. It's frustrating. There's NFL coaches right now, like, if I see him, it's pressure because of the things they did like that. So it's...
How do you navigate those situations?
I'm usually pretty direct with people. Because at this point, like, you already try to fuck me out of business. Like, what else can you... There's nothing else you can do to me. You're not going to whoop me. Right? So that's how I feel. Like, it is what it is at this point. And I'm really direct with people. Like, oh yeah, I know you did this. Like, it's super weak. There's going to be an opportunity or a time where you're going to need something from me that I'll be able to...
Table's always going to.
Yeah, and I don't forget shit. It's funny because college coaches used to do that, but in college game, I got way more power than they do. Mm-hmm. In terms of they gonna need me to help them recruit. They're always gonna need something. NFL, it's a little different, but NFL players can get coaches fired, so that changes that dynamic too.
Absolutely.
So it always works itself out.
It does. And how important is it for you to have an impact on these quarterbacks?
one of the real reasons I got into this, like I was saying earlier, like I wanted them to get suits, but then I thought, damn, I'm gonna work with quarterbacks. To me, the quarterback is the most important person, whether it's at their high school, right? If you got a cool ass quarterback who's looking out for the kid who might not have friends or making sure they, like that permeates throughout a school. Like, oh, one of the coolest guys in our school does nice things for people, cares about people. You get other people to start moving in that direction. So in high school, you're the most important guy. In college, you the man on campus.
Yeah.
There's nobody cooler than the college quarterback, right? So you can change the culture at a university. And then when you're in the NFL, you're the biggest deal in the city. There's nobody more important than these cities. And then be a superstar. Think about like someone like Patrick Mahomes. He gets the opportunity to really change the world. Like he has a global impact. So I get to be someone who impacts some of the most influential people in the world. So that's one of the reasons I do it. I'm always trying to talk to my guys like, hey, so like how we giving back to the community? What are you doing in this instance? There was one of my guys I randomly found out a kid from his high school passed away. I make sure I hit his line like, yo, you gotta take care of that funeral. Like things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to make sure that I'm at least trying to help those guys to make sure that they're looking out for people.
I can really admire that because I, myself, as I said before, as an athlete, you have a platform, no matter what your position is. But when we're talking about levels of position, we're talking about quarterbacks, as you said, like you have a platform just by the title, just by your position. Whether you're a good person, bad person, whether you're good or not, you still have a platform. And to know that it's somebody else out there that's catering to others, because you can use that platform in one or two ways. You can go really, really left, go really, really good. And it's important that we utilize these platforms to give back because there's so many little eyes looking at us. And some of us know it, some of us don't, some of us realize it too late. But, and like you said though, like at that level, at collegiate level, there's nobody pouring into us, thinking about anything outside of the ball. And they're not thinking about like, what else can we do? Like these kids, we pack out these stadiums, sell out these stadiums, and all you can think about is this ball. I can't get a suit.
Yeah, something simple.
I can't get a suit to prepare me for, like just imagine how impactful that would be. You selling out, you got all these millions of people coming to watch you, and they're pulling up in a suit. You don't have to say anything. That's an impactful gesture right there. And working in these different spaces that I've worked in a corporate setting, it's like, y'all don't care at all. And it sucks to like really come to that realization. And moving to my next question is creating your own lane where you know there's a necessity working in sport. Because now I tell kids all the time, like you can do whatever you want. Like if you see there's a necessity someplace, create your own lane. Because sports industry is so big and so wide and so broad and so many different lanes. You can literally do whatever you want and find your niche, find whatever worked for you and run with it and be authentic in just that. Because we're talking about athletes. We're talking about people that look just like me and you and I. So you know what's needed. Everybody else is in these spaces. They don't look like us.
What I always try to think about as an entrepreneur is think about what you needed. Like, what did I need that wasn't there for me to be successful? Right? And whatever that is, that's probably something that you really care about, something you're passionate about, and a lane that you can fill. Now, not everybody's entrepreneur is going to make billions of dollars. But if you find like a gap or a need, you can live a life that's comfortable. Like, you're not going to be the only person who needed whatever you needed. So that's what I always like to think about in terms of like, find a lane and then just run in that lane as hard as you can with blinders on. Like, you don't need to look left. You don't need to look right. Like, just run. And it usually works out.
It usually does. And have you had any mentors along this journey?
I always talk about that. I've never really had I've never had a mentor. And I always hear from other people like how impactful and how helpful a mentor was or is for them in terms of building a business. It's just never something that, there's so few people that do what I do. And it's such a competitive space. Like I've tried to talk to people, they weren't really helpful. I have a lot of younger coaches reach out to me for advice, help, whatever. I'm always there. I probably haven't done a good enough job as an active mentor, right? Calling somebody to check on, hey, what do you need? Like being that resource. But my phone line's always open. And I never having had a mentor, I'm not exactly sure on how to do it in a way that is as helpful as possible. But yeah, I'm mentor free.
I think that goes back to what you said, though, just being what you know you needed, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the resources, and sometimes it can be as little as somebody just bouncing off ideas off somebody. And mentorship, I think that being in a position that you're in, I mean, you do it subconsciously, though, with all these quarterbacks.
Yeah. In that way,
you are a mentor.
I'm always looking out for for sure. I guess I think about mentor in the work capacity, right? Like never had a work mentor, or like someone older who I could like look up to in that way, who could kind of help me do those things.
Do you think it was challenging for you to figure things out? I mean, you always figured them out, but
man, with the advent of YouTube
University,
man, nothing I can't figure out. Like I'm gonna learn the best practices. I read a lot of books. Like I'm all about optimization, figuring out what's scalable, how to scale things, how to grow a better business. So I'm big on YouTube, big on reading.
Absolutely. Let's talk about a low moment in your career. The lowest, where you felt like, dang, I don't know if I can shake this, or this is gonna be tough.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the lowest moments for me was really being in a Starbucks, messaging some 7th grade parent. Like, that sucked. I don't think people understand how rough that is. You'll be on one team for like 3 or 4 days. Like just trying to cross-reference one kid's name with finding out their parent. Like you're going through great lengths to just contact the family.
Just get a response.
Hoping, like, damn, can I get in? Just getting aired? Like, yeah. Hey, yo, really want to train your son? I used to coach at UCLA. This is what I'm doing. Air. Right? You just not getting nothing back. Like, that was defeating. Because then you like, for one, I'm working my ass. Like, I'm trying.
You're doing everything in your power.
And I'm not successful. So in those moments, like, damn, how can I pivot a little bit to still be successful in the thing that I want? That was low, right? Eating a lot of ramen, a lot of dollar menu Taco Bell, bean burrito, no onions, soft shell taco, add sour cream. She was going to cost me $248, and that's what I was eating for dinner. Yeah, like that's low. That's shout out. Like going to your friend's house and acting like you just fucking playing the game until you get tired. Like, oh shit, I just fell asleep. No, nigga, I knew I was gonna fall asleep. You're like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't got nowhere else to go.
To stay, right?
Like to me, those are the lowest moments. And when you look at it, like when you look back, like, was it really that bad? It wasn't that bad.
I tell myself it could always be worse.
And yeah, I always try to think about like, if that's the worst it could be, I'll be all right with whatever. However it goes.
Do you think that your story has impacted you in a way to inspire other student athletes or Black quarterbacks, period? Because your story is very relatable.
I would hope so. I would hope so. Like I want. So I'm always thinking like, live like a quarterback, right? Be committed to a task. Work hard when nobody's watching, right? Being diligent when you can go fuck off and do something else. Like you stay diligent to your task. Like those things, right? That I think make great quarterbacks. I think make great people. And I think that I want people to like think about me in that way. I want them to be like, damn, I know he would have just put his head down and got to work.
I'm gonna call you a mentor because you are a mentor.
Okay, I'll take it.
Being a mentor in this space, and you are the one that these quarterbacks call when they're also going through things. Mm-hmm. Talk about some of the situations or some of the triumphs that you had to help them get through.
Yeah, for sure. One of the moments that I think about all the time, Josh Allen being one of my first clients is someone like really, really close to. His freshman year, he's at University of Tennessee. They're playing Florida. one of the biggest games for University of Tennessee is going against Florida. They're playing at the Swamp. And he'd been battling in camp. He had been doing pretty well. And then they told him, hey, we're not going to dress you for this game. So I'm talking to somebody who feels like they've been doing everything they're supposed to do in practice. And they took another guy who they told him was below him on the depth chart, but the other kid needed it for his confidence. So you've been outworking this white dude. They tell you that, yeah, he was a little bit more highly recruited than you. We got to do this for his confidence, right? So you sitting at home watching this game, and you're not getting the opportunity to go there with your team. And that was like really, really difficult for him, right? At that time, that was really difficult. He was really frustrated. And I'm just like, we can't predict the future, right? All you can do is just keep doing what you're supposed to do. Later that year, he ends up starting or playing in a game versus Alabama his freshman year. Like Alabama, right? That's being fourth in the depth chart.
True freshman.
Yeah, fourth in the depth chart. He ends up going and playing in a game versus Alabama. And then 2 years later, it's so funny, he's playing against the University of Florida. They're down 21-0 at half. And he leads this comeback victory. So, like these full circle moments. But seeing somebody who was so down about something that they couldn't control, but he had done everything right, it was like, yeah, that was probably a moment of mentorship. Like just, nah, man, just keep your head on straight. And me and him still have these conversations. He went out and played a great game versus Atlanta Falcons not too long ago. Comes in, barely knows the playbook. Then against the Chicago Bears, he doesn't play great. But we still have these same conversations. It's like, all right, well, what could you have done better? How do we keep improving, right? And it's a young man that since he was 16 years old, like just being there for him to, he knows I'm not gonna judge him. He fucks up, I'm here. He does well, I'm here. But that's really cool. And then, yeah, so that's a moment of mentorship or just seeing somebody else who's really down but able to battle through it.
Would you say that's the most rewarding part of your position and what you do for quarterbacks?
It's so cool. That is fun, right? But it's fun seeing people get drafted, right? Damn, that's really cool. That's a peak moment for them at that stage in their life, right? But you want to know the peak stage of a sophomore kid in high school's life is that first varsity start, right? So like at every point in your life, there's a different peak.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing gets better than, damn, they made me the start. Damn, I got drafted. Damn, I just got a new contract. Damn, I bought my mom a house. Like, there's all these moments that I get to be a part of with all these guys. So it's hard for me to say this is the best one, but just helping people check off different boxes in their life.
That's dope that you have a position to do that, because sometimes that's all we need is somebody just to be there.
I'm always rooting for you.
Like you never know like how big that, like you said, those moments, and not everybody understands how big those moments are. Because they're not athletes, family, friends, coaches don't get it. They don't know what type of work that I put in. They weren't there when we shooting in the gym, grind on the field. And just to have someone just to share that moment with you is a game changer.
For sure. And one other person I think about a lot is Geno Smith. Geno Smith is someone who got drafted pretty high, second round. Didn't really get all the opportunities he probably could have. One of the most talented guys that I know, but he just kept working. Not getting a chance to play, works. Backup, just work. Like, right? Like all these times where you're like, I might not never get a real shot. They trade Russell Wilson 2 years ago, and Geno just was doing the same thing, but he was fucking ready. Like when his time came, he was ready. That's so difficult to do, to just be ready. When your opportunity comes and you could just seize it. And it wasn't because, all of a sudden he just started working because he was a guy. Nah. He was able to seize that moment because every day he went out and worked like he was a guy. And that's how shit happens. Like every day you got to work like you the man. I was sending messages to little kids like, I'm the best quarterback trainer in the world. They didn't think it, but when you get your opportunity to show somebody, your ass better show up.
Do you have a defining moment in your career, or a few of them, that was like real big for you?
I never thought about it like that. Like not a defining moment, not yet. Yeah, not yet. I'm sure it'll come. I don't know what it's gonna be, but
So you don't have not one moment in your career like, dang,
damn,
I did this
that.
shit.
I probably should. You know what I'm saying? I mean, building what we've been able to build, like, I should.
That's huge.
Yeah, I thought about like training the most NFL quarterbacks. Well, there's other companies who may train more than us, but me individually, there's no one who does more. Like when I thought about that, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it wasn't defining. I'm not sure what that moment looks like.
Well, I'm gonna give you your flowers while you're here.
I'm gonna take the flowers
because that's a hell of an accomplishment.
I'm
As a
proud.
black man, young black man leading a company like that, and to be able to say that confidently.
No, I'm really like thankful the position I'm in, but I think that my defining moment will look bigger than training guys. I don't know what it's gonna be, but one day they're gonna be like, oh shit, that's.
So ultimately, what's the goal for you when it's all said and done?
I'm going to continue to work with the best quarterbacks in the world. I'm going to be a best-selling author, right? And then I'll be doing on-camera work in terms of an analyst talking about the quarterback position, building that brand as well.
Okay. So when it happens, we won't be surprised.
No, don't be. I already started writing the book. Right, got a book deal, so we good there. I'm gonna do everything that I'm supposed to do.
You feel like you're walking in your purpose?
100%. Right, there's nothing I want to do more than the things that I'm doing.
Is there anything that you would change about your journey?
Nothing that I really would want to change. I think that every like difficult circumstance has made me who I was. Right, and I think that actually those difficult times is probably the reasons that I'm here now. I wouldn't want it easier. If anything, maybe a little bit tougher. Like, just see how much more I could take on that end to be able to still overcome. I always talk about, like, desirable difficulties.
Explain that for me.
So you ever seen a kid who's really spoiled?
All the time.
See them, they're never really successful, right? But you see a kid who goes through a little adversity, you're like, oh, it's probably good for him, right? It's a desirable difficulty. So as a parent, you got to try and create situations where you let your kids go through something. But eventually there's a tipping point where there's too much difficulty and you break. Right? That happens to a lot of African-American. Being African-American on its own is a task. It's a difficulty, right? But then you can start dealing with a little bit more, right? And you develop a callus that when shit gets tough, you look like, man, I done lifted them weights. Like, I'm ready for this shit. Like, I lifted that. I'm good. Right? There's those, like, you need that. But it's like, damn, but now my hand's broken. Like, I did too much. Now my shit. So I want to be able to, like, desirable difficulties is putting people in situations where it's difficult as possible, but you don't want to break them. Right? Because then it's like a muscle. It just gets stronger. I'm ready.
Muscle memory.
So that's kind of how I train people. I want to make shit difficult as possible. Then when it gets too difficult, we bring it back. Give you your confidence. Then make it really, really difficult. Like a little bit more difficult than it was the last time.
You build it up.
But I want that in life. Right? And that's why I try and, like I got a daughter, I try and put her in difficult situations all the time. Because when she gets out there in the world, she's like, man, my dad.
How old is she?
She's 6. About to be 7. She can be like,
girl dad.
Yeah, my dad done did this shit is easy. Right? You want to live a life filled with desirable difficulties.
And how does that person development process look like coming from you for these quarterbacks? Because of course you're training them, their physical athleticism and things of that nature, but it also comes like we just talking about the mental and also making sure that you are not only the best quarterback you can be, but also being a good man while you have this platform.
You know what? I could do more of that. We just have conversations. I really let them bring it to me. I don't ever want to be overbearing in that part, but I'm always able to provide I try to provide insight where I can. So
it's like they come to you with different situations. You just give your input on it.
Yeah, and let them know, like, I'm always here if you ever need to talk about any of that. Just because these are people who got a bunch of people, like, reaching at them, grabbing at them, never want them to feel pressured. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to decompress on your own.
Right. Some of us need that, especially in that space.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you have to a quarterback coach that maybe wants to be in your shoes one day?
Never get lazy in your craft. And what I mean by that is like, just keep trying to learn. Like, you don't know everything. I know that I don't know everything. And I know that when I get done today, I'm going to watch a bunch of tape and try and learn something new. Like, you've always got to be exploring, trying to figure stuff out in terms of being a better quarterback coach. But in order to be successful, you just got to be consistent. You got to show up every day. You can't have bad days. You can't, your girl cuss at you and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to training today because I'm frustrated. Nah. Every day you got to show up for these kids because they're looking for, you need to be the example that they need to see because they need to know when shit gets hard, I still have to show up. Those things allow you to be successful.
For sure. And finally, as you know, Sport Exposure, we're here to really expose our stories, expose our journeys to inspire the next generation of student athletes. And you've worked in that and you've seen it on every level from high school to college to middle school to professional. What is it about sports that you feel that it needs to be more exposure?
As an athlete, kill your expectations, right? Because I think kill expectations ain't outside noise. What I realize is so many times that young kids are ruined by their parents who have these expectations for them to do things and start filling their head. But dang, I can't believe your coach didn't. I can't believe this, right? But if you have no expectations other than working hard, you will be able to be a lot more successful. Like, you're not just going to be thinking about the end result all the time. And it allows you to do more, be more successful. And it eliminates a lot of the confusion that a lot of us have in our sports careers, right? And if you think you're doing everything right and it's just not working out, find a new situation or, transfer, do those things. But it doesn't have to be right away. Like, we get in this rush to be who we think we're supposed to be right now all the time. It's not right now. You just got to just do your job.
Trust your process.
And see where shit shakes out, right? So that, to me, is eliminating that noise from other people, where it's aunts, uncles, parents. Eliminate that and then eliminate your expectations. Just go talk about it as an entrepreneur. I mean, I think I said it already, but it's a head down, consistent mindset, right? Understand what your goal is. And then if you just work harder than everybody else, I think a lot of people say that they work hard, but I don't think that they do. Like, there's probably more you could do on social media, more kids you could reach out to. Like, there's always something more that you could do, and take advantage of that. Like, go to sleep, like, exhausted and be excited that you had that opportunity to work that hard.
I like that perspective. I like that a lot. Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Did I create a safe space for you? Did you feel safe?
Super safe.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for stopping by. Where can we find you?
At Quincy Avery on all my social media. And look for our videos on YouTube, and that's Quarterback Takeover. But yeah.
For sure. Well, I hope there is a quarterback that learned something from this conversation, or an aspiring quarterback coach, student athlete, period. They really took something from this conversation in your journey. So thank you again for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode.